Personally.
Yeah, right?
Well, not the way he's running.
Have you seen how it reaches people?
503,
Okay.
and do a roll call. So Dana isn't here. Dave Jones, not here. I'm here. Christina,
Here.
Sheridan,
Here.
and Terry.
Here.
All right. Okay, start out with action item 1 or agenda item 1, the proposed zero waste events policy. Did everybody have a chance to look this over?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll just open up for, do you want to give us a little bit?
I'll talk about it a little bit and then turn it over to Lee, since she did the research on similar policies in other communities, and I think largely based what we have here on is it Erie?
Mhm.
Erie, yeah, so you don't need to look at anything in the resolution.
Those are very good though, those whereas are great.
Yeah, right, but they're certainly not the meat. I mean, they're nice to look at, but they don't really mean anything, right? That's the way I always look at it. The policy is the meat. The resolution formally adopts the policy, and that starts in Exhibit A. And so I would just, trying to provide guidance here that you all should focus on the meat within this page and a half, 2 pages. So Lee, you want to add anything?
Just, yeah, it was based off of Erie and then input from Dave and from Dana, the information she provided earlier.
Cool.
Okay. So I have a couple of comments. I tried to get in touch with Bruin Waste today and haven't heard back, but my concern is with compostables, industrial compostables. And I want to make sure that wherever our waste goes to, they can handle industrial composting. And I think in my recommendation to you, I said maybe we ought to not allow compostable plastics at this time until we know whether or not the facility can support it. From what I've been able to understand, and maybe you know better, Preston, is the Bruin Waste takes their compostable compostings to Delta Compost and is composted there. I just talked to Kendra Held just an hour or so ago, because she had taken a tour of that facility with some other people from town of Telluride on their composting pilot. And she verified that they are an industrial composting facility. They get enough heat long enough to be able to process compostable plastics. I want to verify that with them, but if that's the case, we don't have to necessarily limit ourselves to that if we don't want to. On the other hand, I think it's kind of good to not allow for compostable plastics just because it's easily confused with other plastics, which we also are trying not to allow. So anyway, I just want to throw that in there. I think as long as we say that it's BPI certified, we should be okay with Delta Compost. Again, I want to verify that with them, but I think that's the case. But interestingly, I was in the Butcher and Baker in Telluride, and they have this compostable cup, and it does not have the BPI compostable label on it. It has, it says it's 100% bamboo and FSC certified. So it probably is fine. But again, that's something we should kind of verify with them. But it got me to thinking, I wonder if we need to be a little bit more explicit or have something in there that talks about materials made from wood fibers. Because somebody might look at this and say, well, that's not BPI certified, so we can't use that. So it's just open for comment. I like the fact that this says that basically we're not allowing plastics, even recycled plastics. And I like that because I've been reading about plastic recycling. There's actually a book out about the problem with plastics. And plastics just don't get recycled very much. Ones and twos are the most recyclable, and they do get recycled, but to some extent, but at a very low percentage. And they get recycled into things like rug fibers and things like that, that only recycle once, or not infinitely recyclable. So at least they get one more lifespan.
Mhm.
But I kind of like the idea of Ridgway saying, look, we're not going to contribute to plastics recycling with our events, and just, force them to go with compostable containers. So that's a couple comments that I had.
So I maybe have a question or two. So are you wondering if this one would be okay? Or do you think we need to broaden our?
I'm sure it is, because it's bamboo, and bamboo is recyclable.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that we're not confusing people. We obviously don't want to say biodegradable, because that's very confusing, and we don't.
Yeah.
But I wonder if somehow we need to be a little bit more explicit about other things that can be composted,
Okay.
so that people don't see a container like this and say, well, that I can't use that because it's not compostable. And maybe it doesn't need to go to the policy, but it needs to go into
The education.
the education materials. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I know that the policy needs to get that granular, plus I think
Right.
a lot of that is dependent on the hauler that the event producer contracts with. I mean, sure, there's brew and waste, but they may not be available to take it on or something. I'm just thinking out loud, and then they gotta go with someone else, like waste management or someone, or maybe a secondary compost hauler, and not hauler, but compost facility or something, and then
But in
that's
that case,
dictated by what they allow.
Right. So in that case, we need to make sure that, as you say, that our policy somehow states that depending on their hauler might determine what's compostable.
Right.
Is this mostly an education for the people sorting it at the event?
Well, it's that for sure. But, if we say in our policy that we allow, BPI certified compostables, but the hauler they use takes it to a place that can't handle BPI compostable materials, and there's a problem. It's contaminated compost. So somehow, I guess we need to work that in, that somehow their hauler, who their hauler uses, either has to be an industrial composter, or they have to meet the requirements of wherever that material goes to.
We could always call all the different compostables in the area, see what the one that is most restrictive and go with that.
We could, but I think that will end up being home compostable materials, and that's going to really limit what vendors can use. So.
Or what if number one said BPI and FSC or whatever the other thing is on that cup?
Yeah, we could maybe do something like that to broaden that a little bit, but again, we're back to the issue of if the hauler that they contract with can't even take it. The industrial composting facilities are fairly limited. I think I read something that there's only a couple hundred across the nation that get temperatures high enough to be able to handle compostable plastics, and maybe I would think wood fibers. Eventually, this will compost, because we compost wood fibers here, but there are maybe BPI certified compostables that are not going to work in a non-industrial facility.
Gotcha.
So I guess one way around this would be to say that the hauler needs to use a industrial compostable facility, but that might be too restrictive for some events. Maybe they'd rather not allow this kind of thing, but not have to contract with the hauler.
Yeah, that could be pretty restrictive.
But on the other hand, I mean, if it's true, and I think probably it is, that Delta Compost is an industrial composting facility that can handle this kind of thing, then it seems like haulers around here would be able to get it to them. Apparently Bruin takes all their stuff to that, so maybe that's not so difficult, that the hauler has to be able to get it to Delta Compost,
That's a good point.
so. I just don't wanna, get things into I mean, we're going to a lot of work to not pollute waste streams. And, with this policy, and it'd be too bad to end up polluting it with what we think is compostable.
Absolutely agree.
So,
Yeah, good catch.
so we can think about it a little bit more. In the meantime, I will try to, do a little bit more research with Bruin and with Delta Compost and see, verify that they are, fully industrial compost capability, and get from them a list of things that they can and can't compost.
Yeah.
And then we can go from there. Were you hoping to get this in front of council by their next meeting?
Yeah, it's on the agenda, but it certainly doesn't have to be. But I mean, again, I don't know that the policy needs to get super.
Yeah, maybe it
granular,
doesn't. Yeah.
But I appreciate what you're saying, and we could certainly, pull in the reins and, come back next
Okay.
meeting or something like that. But I think there could be a separate, I'm just thinking out loud, a separate document, like a guidance
For
or
the,
FAQ kind of thing
Right.
for what you're talking about.
yeah,
Okay.
so, and Dana started that last week with, what she have that, and we can just be a little bit more explicit with that.
Because the overall goal is to not pollute the waste stream, and if we're gonna be composting, we wanna make sure that all of it is compostable and.
And that depend on the facility and the whole.
Right, and that's the spirit of what you're talking about.
Right. Right,
So,
exactly.
yeah, so if that's the case, then, I'd be comfortable if you all wanted to make some modifications here if necessary and just get the policy adopted, and then we have some time by the town council, then we have some time to provide that, or put together that guidance document that would complement this.
Yeah, I
I
like
think
that idea.
I like that idea. And maybe it's,
I have a quick question. In the preamble under the policy, it says, for any event within the town of Ridgway that takes place on town-owned property, including street data, town requires that the event organizer and all participating event vendors and organizations to blah, 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 1 through 7. Is it clear enough that if the town is the event organizer, it applies to the town as well, or is that implicit in that statement, or is there need to be further clarity?
which one is?
You're talking about in the policy.
Okay,
In the policy itself, it says that the town requires the event organizer and all participating event and vendors and organizations abide by 1 through 7, or excuse me, 1 through 10. Is it clear enough that if the town is the organizer of the event, that they have to abide by it?
I think so, yes, I think that's captured in that first sentence. If you all feel compelled, we can modify it to say including town sanctioned or town produced events, but.
I mean,
But this doesn't.
Maybe
include-
implicit by that sentence. I was just want to make sure it was understood that that's what it
so
meant.
you're saying we need to make sure the town is also included in this, required.
Yeah, I would assume that if the town is the event organizer, it applies to the town, but
Yes.
Yeah, I would think
It would
so.
apply.
Yeah,
okay.
I love that we're taking pause and just looking at the complexity of this issue. So bravo to us for hanging in there and pausing. To do more research.
But will it change the policy any is the question.
No, but I think it'll give us more confidence, right? Just how it's handled, where it ends up. Does it actually happen the way we want it to happen, etc.?
yeah, the only thing I could see that we maybe would want to change in this policy is broaden it somehow a little bit to include things like FSC certified containers, wood-based products like napkins, paper towels, or something like that.
Could we reference the guidance doc on number 1 and say provide only blah, blah, blah for the guidance doc? Is that, or would they need to be listed out into number 1? Anything that we might include on that?
I don't think we'd want to refer to the guidance doc in
In the
here.
policy.
I think the
Okay.
policy should, maybe, I mean, could
Be-
refer to the guidance document, but not vice versa.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm sorry, I have that.
The other way around. I got you.
Yeah. I don't think I mean, I could see possibly another sentence in number one or adding a number two, 1A or whatever to clarify this
Yeah.
situation.
Sounds like a good idea.
And then I like Preston's idea that we can be more specific in the guidance
Mhm.
document that we hand out to vendors. And I agree that probably, if the zero waste events policy is gonna drive that guidance doc, that we should kind of move on this, because anybody that's starting to plan an event this summer, they might have to, they'll have to notify their vendors, and their vendors are gonna have to do the
Right.
work.
Yeah.
So we probably gotta get this done in the guidance document ready.
Mhm.
So, based on what you just said, you want to propose any modifications to number one specifically or anything in here?
I would like to wait until I talk to Delta Compost, because there might be some other things besides this that we need to kind of think
Include.
about,
Okay.
either in the policy or in the guidance.
Yeah.
And then, then I guess I can sort of back with Lee about what I find out, and maybe we can vote now so that we could potentially get this in front of council next week. We could vote now that we approve this with possible minor modifications about some of the compostables.
Okay, in that case, then I'd wait,
Wait,
I just wait to make
Okay.
sure that it's all buttoned up. So that, some sort of final version
Okay.
as recommended by the SAB is going before them for
Right.
consideration so that they can start asking questions and provide direction from there. Does that make sense?
Maybe then if we're gonna wait, then we can also draft a guidance document to go along with this so that council could see that as well.
Okay. So we want to make sure we get it in front of them by the April meeting. In front of council.
Yeah, we can do that.
So as with all of these things that we do, this is a resolution, not an ordinance. How is a resolution that includes a policy enforced?
I was gonna ask that question too.
So there's no penalties for violation, right? Like, because it's not an ordinance, it's not a formal regulation in
Yeah.
the code, but we would still be obligated from a town staff and organization perspective to enforce it with our vendors and then producers. So we would ensure that that they're making the commitment and actually getting out the right materials and signing the agreement with the hauler and have the bins out in the way it's called for in the policy and have someone out there to help sort. So there's a lot to make sure that, well, there's not a lot, but there's plenty in there to make sure that they're doing.
And they will sign a contract, right? So
I mean, there wouldn't be a contract, it'd be some sort of form, and they're required to provide us with some material, but they provide a form. Ensuring their commitment to meet the policy, and if they don't, then the punitive measure that we would have is, okay, well, you're not doing an event in Ridgway ever again, kind of thing. Right?
Well,
You would have-
Preston, to your point, Preston, I think it's an event, right? It has its own set of rules and guidelines. So it's separate from Ridgway, even though you're hosting. I think it is enforceable. I agree with you completely. Because it's an event inside our town, right? So even though we may not have an ordinance yet, I think it's really enforceable per event just by setting up standards and guidelines and rules. Easy peasy, right?
All right,
Or not?
Yeah, agreed.
Well,
yeah,
I got some. I don't know. What do you think about that? I'm kind of new to y'all. I'm reading faces with smirks. So tell me.
Oh, I didn't hear a question,
No, it wasn't a question. I was just curious what you thought about that. I think it's an event. And don't you think it sustains its own rules and capacity despite not having an ordinance in the town of Ridgway? You can qualify and give rules and guidelines for per event inside your township without having an ordinance and enforce it.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's the purpose of
Okay.
policies outside of regulations. So yeah.
Right.
Well, and then there's number 10, which is a waiver. So if they can't
Right.
comply, they have a little wiggly room there. But I think
Right.
your main club of enforcement is what Preston said, which is if they don't comply, even if they agree to comply, they just won't be invited back.
Yeah, I look at this and I think, okay, the Ridgway Renaissance, hopefully, I mean, that's a pretty big deal, and hopefully, a rendezvous, let's call it Renaissance, rendezvous. Hopefully they will have time to review this and be able to work with their vendors and comply, and it's not a huge deal, and, you know, it's basically education. One where I can see there might be some problems where we might have to do a little bit of a waiver is with the beer and brew, whatever the thing that is where there's all the distillers that have the little samples.
The Rendezvous Festival, I think.
Yeah, whatever it is where,
Breweries with all the beer.
yeah, and with all the little plastic sample cups and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've always had glass.
Yeah,
Always had
that's
glass.
good.
Well, last time I was here this spring, there was a couple of, or this last fall. Maybe it's something different. Maybe we're talking something. Is Rally Through Alley maybe,
Okay.
but the people there, the distillers had like little plastic cups.
Oh, Love Your Valley. That's what it is. That's what
And it's pretty hard to do a little sample of the distillery without a plastic cup unless you force them to buy those glass cups. So anyway, as you say, Terry, we've got an out here so we can cut a little bit of slack if we need to for an event that we otherwise approve, and they're, you know, trying to make a good faith effort everywhere else. So,
That makes sense.
okay, anything else on this? Okay,
For that guidance doc. Are we taking what Dana put together and sort of just like adding to it? Like,
yeah, I think that's a good start. I don't know, maybe, I don't know how we want to work with that.
I haven't seen them.
But she provided it last meeting.
I'd pull it up. I can't get the internet on my computer right now, but.
Yeah, if you all want to give a go, maybe at crafting something or at
Okay.
least just sending that out for everyone to kind of look at and brainstorm, and we should be able to get something, you know, crafted to fit the mold for consideration at the next meeting.
You just might want to make sure that's not copyrighted, what you had in them.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like the images?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one of it looked like, you know, a pretty professional image, like, it just went, you know.
Yeah, I think she probably went to some of their website or something for that and got a picture of all the different.
So it may help to
Okay.
just make sure, I was like to check.
Yeah, we don't need any images, so just a copy would be good.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it might be a good idea. I mean, I think what she was attempting to provide there, and it's not a bad idea. I think that was in some other policy I saw, was some examples of places you can go to get compostable stuff. And so it might still be worthwhile to have a couple of different places to go to find this. And with the caveat that we're not, you know, endorsing anybody, but this is just to get you started, like, you know, Ball for the aluminum cups, or, you know, I forget what the other place was. But anyway, so we could put that in the policy, maybe the appropriate caveats.
Okay.
So I'll talk to Dana and see if she wants to do that, or if she, and I don't know, and we'll get something together for the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Thanks, Joe.
I just sent that to you, so I don't.
Okay, engine idling considerations update.
Yeah, so an updated ordinance is in the works. It's with Bo Nerlin, our town attorney, to kind of work his magic based on what he proposed. Done a lot of research and haven't found a single community in the lower 48 states that has regulations for regulations for idle-free zones kind of thing. Not to say that it's impossible or anything. It's just always great to not reinvent the wheel. And I think the spirit of what Bo had proposed, some of y'all were there at that meeting, we talked a little bit about it at the last SAB meeting last month, was instead of having straight up across the board restrictions that apply to public streets right away across the board, have it applied to certain areas, certain zones, right? And if you're caught idling there, that's the infraction kind of thing. Well, in evaluating it and thinking it through a lot, you still have to have a threshold, right? I mean, if you walk up on a car that's idling, like say Shane, the town marshal, walks up to the post office, that's an idle free zone, and they see someone sitting in their car and it's idling, you still have to have a threshold for a violation.
Right,
Right,
like
you
at
can't
least 10
necessarily-
seconds or something like that.
Well, yeah, 10 seconds is a pretty short amount of time, but in my opinion, but yes, something, right? Something to say, so we still come up on that issue of needing to have a timing component, timing restriction kind of thing.
Did you talk to Shane about what he thought in terms of what that threshold might be?
Haven't had any specific conversations about the threshold. I mean, certainly will when the right time comes, but we need Bo to craft the legalese in the restrictions based on what he has seen and what he think might work for our community, so it's not challenged and there's no exposure kind of thing. But yeah, Shane can certainly weigh in on what he thinks might be appropriate for that threshold. And any other restriction considerations that we might need to put in there, but yeah, I don't know what Shane might say for the threshold, but we'll see.
It seems to me that if you are parked and you leave your vehicle, you turn it off for one. So if
Yeah, if no one's in the car, it seems like that would be,
Yeah.
I'd be like, okay, get a warning or ticket.
Right. And if you're like, you're parked and you're like gathering up your stuff to take inside or getting your bags to go into the store, yeah, you need, maybe 15 seconds or whatever, but it seems to me that if you start talking in order of minutes or, whatever, then that's enough time for somebody to dash in and get their mail and come back and it's been idling for 2 minutes or something. I don't know, I'm just kind of spitballing here.
Trust me, we've been spitballing and been thinking through that, and we just want to minimize the exposure. Someone who throws a fit because they got a ticket for idling,
Right.
and challenge that in court,
Yeah.
and backfires on this kind of thing. So that's true.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you see idle free zones everywhere, so they must just put signs up. And it's not a policy, it sounds like.
See, that's a
Not
good
enforceable.
point, because I've thought about this a lot, and I think about that too every time I see those signs now, and I think they just throw them up.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
they just throw them up.
but the library in Telluride, I think,
Well,
has that in front of it.
And the truth is that even if there's a policy or an ordinance, nobody's gonna be standing there all the time to police it.
Right,
It's only gonna get policed when Shane or one of his, deputies ends up going past there and seeing somebody idling, or they get a complaint.
Or someone like me says, hey, it's an idle free zone.
Right, so it does come down, still, again, and I was trying to kind of make this point when I got up in front of the council, is that it's not really enforceable, but it's something that gets people thinking by those signs.
so
So,
let's just say, I mean, we're still gonna work on this ordinance, obviously, Bo has it, but could we just put signs up? Is that something you can do or no? Because like the post office is technically Ridgway public property, we can't just put signs up, right?
Good question. We could, I mean, we have sign regulations and such. If you remember back, Dana, really was the one who spearheaded this whole issue, this whole topic, and that's really what she wanted to see. Was let's put signs up at the post office, and part of me is like, we should have just done that, because
yeah,
It's
Right.
a thing.
right,
we're joking a little bit, but it's evolved, and now we're considering restrictions and such, so we could evaluate it. But I think I wouldn't feel comfortable at this point just doing it at an administrative level. We need some direction from you all and ultimately the town board. And if we're gonna If we want to informally, yet kind of formally with signs, designate that and any other spots as idle-free zones. So just because of how controversial it's.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the idle-free zone, and having a sign that says idle-free zone, and maybe a QR code with facts or whatever, how we want to ever handle that. That's a great start, and that's maybe about as far as we're gonna get with people not idling, because even if there's an ordinance or a policy behind it, they don't know. And, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So this was really just informational, so we'll talk about it more next meeting, but I guess real quick, based on the conversation of the town council meeting a couple months ago, what are the zones or areas that should be included in the ordinance? I think that'll be helpful as we finish crafting it for next month. I mean, post office, we've heard about, that'll be in there. Part of me is wondering if we should designate the entirety of the historic business zoning district as an idle-free zone. I mean, that's pretty much the entirety of the town core, the business area. That's a lot, but it's an idea. So I wanted to hear what you all thought about the areas.
So I've been thinking about this too, and two things I thought is, does it make sense to start out with a couple of zones and see how things go and how pissed off people get, or how hard it is to enforce or whatever, and just see how that goes and maybe expand it later. And then my second thought was, well, why bother to expand it? Why not just do as you say, include the whole district? But that also means more signage too, if we're gonna, because I think the only way we can designate these zones is to have pretty clear signs that these are zones. And so, I don't know, I could go either way, but I kind of, from all the pushback, I kind of feel like maybe the less, controversial way would be to designate a couple of the high traffic zones first and see what happens. If the ordinance would allow us to designate more zones or widen the zones at a later.
Yeah, we could always come back and modify the code, but I mean, there's merit to what you're talking about. Love to hear what the rest of y'all think, but yeah, I mean, heard you say fine either way kind of thing, but going back to what I said before, when Dana initially proposed this thing, she was just talking about the post office.
Yeah,
So maybe that's where we start.
I was thinking at a minimum, post office and the market, that area in front of the market, because people run in and
That's a good
buy
one.
something
That's a
pretty
good
quick,
one, yeah.
come out.
I think so with schools, but that's not under our purview, right?
Yeah,
It's private property.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like the idea of trying to do a sign. I'd love to hear what Dana has to say. Maybe she's out of country right now, but yeah.
I think the sign, we can discuss, what the sign should be, and obviously it needs to say no idling zone. And then what else we put on it, if we have a ordinance behind it, then we,
You cite the ordinance.
cite the ordinance. If we don't have an ordinance behind it or don't want to be controversial or whatever, then we don't do that. I do like the idea, and maybe it's just because I put a lot of effort into this, but I do like the idea of having a QR code or something with some facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I think when people see those facts, they go, oh, okay, well, yeah, I don't need to worry about turning off my engine.
Yeah, it's all part of the education, so I think that's important. So, well, we don't have to decide anything tonight. Terry, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but we'll give a go crafting something. Hopefully Dana can attend the next meeting and we can have a more robust conversation then about idling again.
For now, we'll just let it idle.
Right.
That's my input.
Yeah. And well taken. Okay,
Just
anything
don't
else
give me
on
a
that?
ticket.
Okay, next topic is the update on local implementation, the impact grant. Any more updates?
Nothing substantive, but we're getting closer. Terry and I just had a meeting yesterday, 2 days ago with the folks from the Colorado Energy Office, and they the higher ups at the energy office have modified the approach a little bit to the scope of work and the budget document and what the contract might look like, it sounds like. So, and Terry's been kind enough to really be helping us out and with that scope of work. Terry, you might have spent time with it today even. I was going to turn my attention to it tomorrow, but we have until the end of the week. We have some leeway too. We could do it next week if we needed to send the requested modifications back to the energy office. And Terry, they said they're aiming at the end of this month to have contracting wrapped up, or at least the scope of works wrapped up, right?
Yeah. They're doing their best to make it as complicated as possible, it seems.
Yeah, it's money. It's very nice that we've been awarded the funds, but this is maybe one of the very interesting process.
Complicated.
Well, what's that saying? They're learning to fly while they're in the air, kind of thing. You know, there's a saying that I can't an anecdote I can't come up with, but seems like it's evolving as we keep meeting with them. Their process evolves.
Yeah.
I do have a couple questions because I have been working on this some today as it relates to synchronizing some of what we have in the grant with some of what we have in our work plan. So I'd like to chat about that briefly. If you go to our work plan, which I know is probably next on the agenda, the first item there, the net zero 2030, there's a list of pilot projects that don't completely align with the equipment that we're asking for money for in the grant. And this is the first time I've actually looked at between the two to see how they synchronized. And if you want, I can share my screen with everybody here to see what we've listed in the grant as equipment that we're asking for funding for. And really, it only covers the last two bullets in the goals column, which is the cold climate heat pump and the hot water heat pump. But it doesn't include the string trimmers, the mower, certainly doesn't include the EV truck. And I just want to point that out. I'm not sure what I'm asking to do about it, but you know, this group should be and will be more involved with this grant administration to some extent for that purpose, for that particular area, which is this equipment, but also down below the community electrification. It's, you know, if you look at that column there, it says that we're going to research the impacts of all electric building codes, develop fact sheets, conduct education outreach. All of that's covered by a consultant in this grant. So it wouldn't necessarily be something that the SAB does if we get the grant. And I can show you the language if you want me to share my screen. So there's a bit of overlap between the two efforts, one of which is going to be funded and this one's volunteer. So
let me just say something as far as the net zero 2030 thing. When you guys are putting together the impact grant, I had put some stuff in there, or I had talked to Siobhan about putting stuff in there for riding mowers and stuff like that. So that was in there originally. Maybe that got pulled out. And maybe
I never saw it. I never saw it, the riding mower. I can literally share my screen and show you what we're actually asking for money for.
But the other thing is, what I put in this for net zero was kind of aspirational in terms of wanting to get some pilot projects done this year so that we can be more informed about what we do next year to start achieving our 2030. So this is all aspirational. I don't know that it necessarily means that it's cast in stone.
Let me share my screen because the reason I'm bringing it up is now's the time. So if we want to pull some of those into this, we have an opportunity to do it, but we have to identify costs, and that's part of the issue. So let me share my screen just so you can see what I'm up against if I can figure out how to do this in this budget thing. Tell me when you can see my screen.
Yes. Well,
yes.
Yep.
So, you know, this column is a cold climate air source heat pump for I assume it's for the town hall. And we've got $47,500 listed in there for that. This one is a town hall heat pump water heater for $13,500. Then there's a Town hall hydronic buffer tank and control integration. I have no idea what that means, but it's 9,500. And I'll explain a nuance here in a minute. Then we've got town hall electrical panel upgrades and wiring. We've got town hall maintenance building mini split heat pumps, two of them at 9,000 each. We've got town maintenance building electric water heater. I'm not sure if that's an air source water heater or if it's just a regular water heater. And then there's a town maintenance building electrical upgrade. Then I had money left over from the original budget that I put in there as a contingency for a yet unidentified appliance. They don't like that. So they don't want a contingency for unidentified appliance. I can either identify an appliance and leave the budget here, or what they want me to do is to move some money around such that any line item like this one here, these 9,500, has to be a minimum of 10,000, which is listed down here in the instructions that I never read. So I've got to do some modifications to make sure everything we asked for is above 10,000. But I do have, a few $1,000s to work with if we wanted to go back and say identify an all-electric riding mower. I could stick it in this slot and put some funding towards it. So that's the reason I'm bringing this up, is I have a chance. Now is the time, if we're going to change what we're synchronizing this ask for to our aspirational goals. I need some very quick input because we've got to submit this by the end of the week. So that's the reason I'm bringing that up. Moving on, I'm just going to show you something else under contracts and awards. This is all the money for all of the consultants. The first chunk of money is to hire a consultant that will take us into the public engagement process, which has got, 40,000. I'm sorry, this is the quality assurance. Ignore that. That's just one of their requirements. But contractor to conduct research and devise outreach plan, develop the SAP, which is this quality assurance program. We've got $23,000 in there for that effort. In this effort, public engagement implementation, meeting notes, public meetings, town hall style events, related public engagement sessions, blah, 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 meeting agendas. We've got $47,500 for the same consultant as this one to conduct that research and do all the outreach, resulting in a town council update and final adoption of the all-electric code. So I'm just going to go through this and we can come back and talk about your impressions on this. Then there is a municipal building electrification retrofit. We have money for an energy performance contractor to go through and do selecting pre-qualified energy service company contracting for investment grade audits, municipal building, provide ESCO selection, documentation, blah, blah, blah. There's 50K in there for that. Permitting implementation support, that's pretty dry. That's just to help us get to write the final permitting requirements. But I'm going to draw attention to these two. That we have an electrification incentive program, contractor to administer that, and a beneficial electrification plan, contractor to administrate that. Those two efforts have over here $391,000 and $519,000 respectively in the buckets for the actual rebate funds. So two different rebate funds. So that's kind of the structure. I mean, it's wonky to see it in the spreadsheet, but I wanted to show you what all of this money is going to and how that might influence the overlap between what we've aspirationally laid out in our work plan and what we're actually going to pay consultants to do. So that's the end of my diatribe. I'll stop sharing screen if I can figure out how to get back to the.
There's a lot to cover and that's good info. I just wanted to say real quick that none of these dollars are allocated to 2026.
Right.
This is all 2027 and 2028.
One thing that jumped out at me, and I should have brought this up last year when we were talking about this, but the electrification of like town hall and other municipal buildings doesn't include anything about like insulation or anything like that. I don't know if that's something we could also just throw in or what you think about that, since that would probably make a huge that would help a lot for reducing the amount of electricity used for like air source heat, all these other electric appliances.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't identified in our work plan and it wasn't identified in the original grant application, so I didn't have any reference to it.
Okay.
So I mean,
Oh, no, yeah,
I could add it here. And I don't know if you can see this.
I don't know if it's too late to, yeah, throw something like that in there.
I don't think we're precluded from doing it. It gives me some concern to be kind of at the 11th hour and almost at the end and like throw some other stuff in there. But Terry's right. They did say, you know, take out the contingency and put it in other pockets. So maybe they would be okay with it, but I'd love to avoid additional meetings with them and
That's
have them
true.
chastise us again.
Also, if there's gonna be a consultant that comes in and does an energy audit, they'll probably just say that anyway, and then they can just add that onto the work plan, maybe.
Yeah, or we can budget standalone to do that.
Yeah.
To insulate.
One of the wonky nuances here is an energy performance contractor, like the one that keeps reaching out to Preston and I and John, that I've, and Sheridan. So who? No, none of you went to. Anyway, there's a company that's been courting us for some time. Generally, the way those ESCOs work is they purchase all the hardware, and they ensure savings. So that's how they get paid. Is if they save $100 on an electric bill, they take 80 of it and they give you 20, kind of thing. That's not what we're going to be allowed to do, right, Preston? I mean, we made it clear in the last meeting that we're physically purchasing all of this hardware. So that's something we'll have to work out in the RFP to the energy performance contractor. Probably not an issue for the SAB, but it's more just something I wanted to remember to mention while Preston was on the line, since we don't get to talk a whole lot. But the ESCO itself, sometimes they operate differently than what this grant's going to allow us to do, I think.
Yeah. So Terry, can you go back to the original question about the public works maintenance equipment, string trimmers and all that kind of stuff? On the initial, the first draft of this budget that I think was that Siobhan put together for the intent to the first phase of this, in the second column, so the standard budget, there was a line item, it was task 6, that says municipal fleet and equipment electrification pilot, replace one public work pickup with EV and pilot electric grounds maintenance equipment, string trimmers, blowers, mowers, etc. There was that task 6 was just one line item, and she had a budget of 103,400 under the standard budget. So
it didn't make the cut, essentially. So the budget that we put through didn't identify those.
Well, and I remember one of the things that she or somebody told us is they didn't want to be replacing fleet vehicles with this. So
and that might have been why it got nixed, because they were bundled in that one line.
Because it was bundled together.
Yeah.
But another comment I have is that I put together a draft roadmap that talked about these pilot projects, but that was a draft and nobody's ever reviewed it. And really, who needs to review it, I think, is staff, to see how they want to go about replacing stuff for the town. And so I'm a little bit loath to say we need to put money in there for a riding lawnmower if nobody's interested at this point with trying out an electric riding lawnmower. But that being said, if we could just have, take that last line item that you're trying to figure out what to do with and basically turn it into what this line item was minus the EV vehicle replacement, then that basically gives them, so it's basically a public works electrification line item to replace string trimmer, mower, whatever.
Well, based on that, and then based on Preston's last comment, I'm going to need to take out of this 15,900 probably 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So it brings it down to, let's just say 12,900 or 13,000. I could, and unless Preston thinks it's dangerous, just put into this bucket municipal electric public works appliances, i.e. string trimmers, weed trimmers, blah blah blah, and just whatever is left over after I move some money in here to get these over 10,000.
That would be my recommendation, and that way then we can still have a conversation with Stephen and whoever, and let them decide what they think is hopefully they're they realize that as things break down, they should replace with electric. But, part of my thinking here was to do some pilot projects so they could figure out what ecosystem they wanted to use. They want to go with Ego or Ryobi or whatever. Have some money in here to try out some equipment and see what they think of it before they start converting everything.
Well, so this is precisely why I was bringing this up, is that we have an opportunity. Preston, what do you think about if after I equalize these to make sure they meet the rules, I'll have, $12,000 left over. I could put in here public works, what's the term I'm looking for? Outdoor lawn and garden
Landscape.
equipment?
Yeah,
Something
public works, landscape maintenance equipment.
Yeah, Chad,
Landscape and maintenance equipment.
it's a nominal amount of money anyway. I think it's fine. I mean,
Yeah, so I'm just
go ahead
gonna
and do that. I think that makes sense. Public works, equipment electrification.
Public
Yeah.
works, would you call it outdoor?
I don't think you just say equipment, the electrification, that leaves it plenty broad.
But I didn't hear that. So what am I typing?
Public works, outdoor equipment electrification.
Okay. All right, so whatever's left over in that bucket will be identified as that. And I've got to change and then I've got to move some of these things over into I've got some work to do still. Okay, well, that's what I wanted to find out. So and I could even put in here in parentheses, string trimmers, leaf blowers, if you thought that was necessary. Or they probably don't care.
Yeah, I don't know that
And
they care, but whatever you think, Terry.
Okay. All right. That's all I had. And that's, like I said, my attempt to try to blend some of our work plan into this and also make the SAB aware of that we're actually getting grant funding to do some of what we had identified in our work plan, which means that we'll probably have maybe the SAB can interface with these contractors, but nonetheless, we're going to have money to chip off. Granted, this is going to be over a course of a couple of years. You can't see up here, but this is actually starts next year. So there's no money in there for this year. So our current work plan is for this year.
Okay.
Terry, just one minor little thing. I guess I would suggest in this line item that you make it maintenance equipment electrification rather than outdoor, because I think what we're talking about is mowers, blowers, trimmers and stuff like that. And that's landscape maintenance. And outdoor might think, well, what are you talking about? A heater? Or
That's fair. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Terry, for all that work.
Yeah, thank you, Terry.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll
How about
talk.
electric outdoor. How about that? Here we go.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's the guidance I wanted to give you guys some chance to input on this process here.
So stay tuned.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Let me get off.
see,
I don't know how to stop sharing. Let's see. Stop, maybe. Did I stop sharing?
No.
no,
Doesn't give me an option for stopping.
Preston, can you click that little green thing next to Terry's name and participants and force them off or no?
Look under your share button.
Let's try this. What does that do? Does that just share my screen?
Yeah.
Did it again.
I stopped your sharing, so we're
All
good.
right, good. Because I couldn't. Okay, thank you. Thank everybody.
Okay, next agenda item is work plan items. Is that right?
Yep. You
Okay.
led into talking about a few of them just now.
Yeah, so I'll let people handle their own. We've already talked to a couple of them, so and then it keeps. So I'll just mention on the net zero thing, I have not updated the roadmap. I have not finished the fossil fuel inventory. Still to do. Turns out that Stephen apparently is out of the office, so and I need to kind of work with him. as far as the roadmap goes, I would like to update it. But more importantly, after a bit of an update, because I've thought of a couple things on it, I think it needs to be reviewed and somebody has to look at it and see, are we gonna do this? And as I mentioned a little bit ago, and Preston just left the office, but it seems to me that people in the town government, town staff need to look at it and see if they have any comments or agree with it. So that we can start executing on it. And so,
At the roadmap specifically, right?
the roadmap,
Okay.
right. And I think at this point, a timeline is kind of, not terribly informative because we don't know exactly when the impact stuff is gonna happen. And, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on a timeline, but I think a roadmap that guides how we're approaching this is a good idea. I just think that needs to be agreed to, or, somebody has to.
Somebody from town staff needs to agree to it, is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, somebody needs to be willing to execute on the roadmap. And if they're gonna execute on the roadmap, they need to agree to it or approve it. We're just talking about, updating the roadmap. Cause I can create a draft and it sits on my computer, but somehow we need to start thinking, how are we gonna execute on our 2030? And that is based on the roadmap. So I'd like to do a little bit of an update on that. I've got some new thinking on it, but then I guess I'd like to get it to you or whoever, so that people like Steven and
when it's ready, send it over, we can review it, but it's gotta be approved by.
that, so that's fine. It's just, I don't want to update it and then let it sit around.
Yeah, so just let us know when it's ready to advance and
I'll do an update. Maybe we'll do this for next meeting. I'll have an updated roadmap. We can review it here within the SAB and then, make changes or whatever. And then I'd like to send it off to you guys to Preston and town to begin executing on it or make adjustments.
making adjustments, yeah.
Okay. Let me know if you need another pair of eyes on it.
Okay. Good. Okay, we talked about impact grant, town electrification, probably, well, Dave's not here, but I would imagine he'd say nothing there until we get the impact grant and get going on it. We did a event and festival waste reduction, so we're good there. Anything new? Oh, I had a question about this outreach and education. We talked a little bit about the Ridgway waste event.
Yes.
April 25th. Did we decide we're gonna maybe try to have a presence there or did it?
That's right. Good question. What did we decide on that? Let me look and see.
I think Dave made the point that people come in and they dump their stuff and then they leave. So it's not like a community event where people are milling around and stuff. But we could, if we thought it would be a useful time to
At the very
present
least,
something,
we could, yeah,
we could have a table and have some refreshments. People could
yeah,
get a cup of coffee or whatever.
coffee and flyers. We could at least just
Yeah.
do that and say hello.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. I mean, I go to every event and help people unload their trucks into those roll-offs. Upline Bank does an electronic waste event in conjunction, so kind of across the parking lot. We offer compost in a different section. I really think having a booth by that compost, that free compost might be a good spot to post up and be able to in a less chaotic way, because it's chaos as people drive up and throw their stuff and we're all helping them. The less chaotic areas over by the mulch, I keep calling it compost, I'm sorry, the mulch. Right, it's the mulch, sorry about that. It's less chaotic over there, maybe a good spot to post up to do what you guys are talking about.
okay.
Okay,
So let's,
so have a table next to the mulch,
Right.
flyers.
Or
maybe.
wherever you want, just try to.
okay, and so we'll do some flyers. So we need to talk about flyers. I hope to have a few more fact sheets together. for
The idle
people to
one's
review.
a good one to have.
To have that, we can do the dog ordinance or the dog leashing thing. We're gonna have that.
Do you have a brochure?
And
If you
so.
approve it.
We have a brochure
It's on the list, yeah. We have an existing brochure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for,
well, there's a new one.
there's a new one. So yeah, we should be able to come up with 3 or 4. I'd like to do something on, a composting one. That'd be pretty.
oh, that'd be perfect.
Oh, and so that's why I'm working on information about the new compost program that starts April
Great.
1st. We're just waiting to get some details from Brew and Waste so we can.
Yeah, we'll add that.
Oh, that would be so great.
That would be in the fact sheet.
And then that way we don't over inundate with flyers, maybe just a few, those two, like composting and the idling and the dog one or something.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we can have some flyers
Okay,
ready to
you can get
go,
some
and
coffee.
then some coffee and. We can talk some more maybe at next meeting, because it'll be beforehand, we can, talk more about who's gonna man it and when and.
If we want to get a sponsor for the coffee or not.
Right,
yeah.
and
Or if it's in the
specifically,
budget, what we can
part of
do.
the stuff we wanna cover, we wanna have posters of Green Street.
Oh, our poster,
things like
yeah,
that, so.
okay. Poster for
Maybe
Saturday,
don't wanna have a poster of Green Street, but
or something, yeah, we'll think about it.
You might not wanna buy up
Yeah.
more than you can chew, but having a presence would be good. So
Yeah, at least a table with
That's Saturday, the 25th is the date, though.
Okay.
8 to 1.
8 to 1, okay.
And if you want to, we're going live with the, new calendar on March 16th, so you guys could create a group for yourselves and you could create an event to help get the word out.
Oh, yeah,
let's do that. Let's,
new calendar on March 16th.
And I'd be glad to help you with
Right.
that.
By the way, I checked the embedded code thing and it does seem to work. So, that might be a way to approach. our
Yeah, you
problem.
could put it there and then it goes to your site.
So we need to work a little bit more on that. But we can do that.
Yeah, good call out, Dave.
In terms of signage, I've been thinking about our tabling and stuff, and it'd be nice to have some sort of a sign or banner that says Ridgway Sustainability,
Yeah, same
so that.
for all our tabling efforts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have anything yet, do we? Do we have anything that SAB had?
Not that I know of. Dave Jones might know of something, but I don't think we have it.
In my mind, I have a vision of a pop-up with a sort of a banner sign along the top of it. It says Ridgway Sustainability with maybe the Ridgway logo and maybe the sustainability logo.
Okay.
Do we have a pop-up they could use?
Like an X-frame, is that what you mean?
We have pop-up tents with the town's logo.
Oh, okay, so that'd be
Maybe if
good.
you put,
And then
on the
put the sign.
table, Ridgway's
Yeah.
sustainability.
Oh, yeah.
Wherever it's
I like
visible,
that.
but
So if we get a tablecloth,
Yeah, there's.
yeah, it'd be nice to get one of those, cloths or, whatever plastic we have out.
Yeah.
Everybody has, like we had at the pickleball tournament, it just says Ridgway Sustainability.
Yeah,
so that
exactly.
We know who we are,
yeah, just one long poster or something.
right?
Yeah,
So and if you think we can get approved for doing that, I can talk to the Ridgway Pickleball Club and see where they get theirs made, or maybe for.
I don't. Yeah, if you wanna develop something or design something and, get quotes and stuff, I wanna
Okay.
be conscious of, none of the business is saying no, but I wanna be cognizant of how often it's gonna be used based on the investment we would make on something. like
Yeah,
that.
I was thinking it'd be used at our tabling, I was thinking it'd
Because we
be,
didn't budget for something like
Yeah.
that, so.
I think it'd be used at our tabling, I think we could be used at our, music in the park, at our waste stations where we're collecting waste, or a waste station, however we do it.
And
So,
another thing, if you don't want to spend a ton of money, you could probably just have something printed on like a cardstock paper. Some places can do longer, bigger things.
do that if it doesn't get, if it's, we get
Yeah.
wind and stuff or rain, and if it's not terribly, a lot of money, it'd be nice to have something durable
Yeah.
that, we can use for the next, 10 years kind of thing. So
yeah,
I'll do some investigation, get some prices to you. And we can go from there.
cool. Thanks. Yeah, good question. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's see, Sheridan.
Posting,
Also for outreach and education, I printed out some things that we talked about, those
oh,
comps things for everybody.
yeah, nice.
And If you guys want to print extra, if you want it, but don't
What
have
is
to
that,
take it.
Sherry?
It's just the stuff, the PowerPoints that we went over with all that info.
Slides.
I just put them on a doc press. And if we use them this year, great. If not, if we figure out this is not something that's actually useful to us as members when we're talking with, you know, plain dealer or whoever, town folk, then that's totally cool. Maybe next year we don't waste the paper, but just trying it out.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea, and I think it is good for us to all be thinking on the same page. And maybe this is something also we can sort of work into our tabling somehow with some posters or something that, you know, it would be nice when we have a booth that people know what we're working on, and having a poster.
Showing our active.
And posters are, I've learned, are pretty expensive, or inexpensive, so
Okay,
you can probably get some of that pretty.
tell your ed library is free too, so.
Yeah.
Print it.
All right, great.
Cool. And then for composting, I don't have any news on the idea I had for the free or subsidized one. Christina had to put her dog down yesterday, so that's why she hopped off. She wasn't really well, but she said she would send an email about her stuff.
Pretty good. And as Lee was saying, and mentioned this last time, but was able to negotiate the addition of a new voluntary residential compost pickup program. As part of our new franchise agreement with, not new, but our updated franchise agreement with Ruin Waste, and that will be rolling out on April 1st. So it's voluntary. Folks will just need to, Ridgway residents at least will need to just call Lori in the clerk's office to inquire about the rates and that specific service and the options. And it'll be tacked on to the water bill each month.
Okay.
And, they'll get the appropriate container, and what we're working on is making sure that everyone understands what is allowed to be composted. And
Okay.
That's what Lee was getting at, gathering that information so that we can put the word's been out. We've put that word out that it's coming, but now's the time to start getting all the information out there so that we can start signing up in advance of April 1st.
Okay.
Bruin has on their website, what's listed as compostable, but it's really confusing. Because I take my stuff to Montrose Recycling Center, so I call the city of Montrose to see what's, what really, I was really sort of focused in on plastics, because plastics is, what is really compostable and what's not, and it's really confusing, so. It's really important to be really clear, especially when it comes to plastic. And another big one that nobody seems to know for sure is milk cartons that has the plasticized or waxed inside or outside. Some, Montrose says no. I think Montrose said no, but the Bruin said yes, or maybe it's vice versa. I think it's vice versa. Montrose said no, Bruin said yes. But Montrose takes their stuff to that recycling center, which is, run by Bruin. So I just, it's just a mess.
Then it all gets put on a barge and dumped in the ocean.
Yeah, right,
I
exactly.
would say I've heard rumors about the recycling maybe not going where we all think.
Yeah, especially with plastics, it's just, we do good with glass and cardboard and metal, but plastics is a mess. So. All right, anything else? I have a motion to approve the minutes from last week.
I moved to approve the minutes from.
What about change the date of the April?
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah, so let's see, the April meeting, regular meeting is on April 7th, which means that we can't use this room because there was an election
Oh, yeah.
that day. And I think the deck room, well, I know the deck room is already booked, so either we find a different location or we find a different date. My preference with how busy that day will be with the election is that we find a different day.
I agree.
Yeah.
And the next day is the town council meeting, and so I would propose, at least right now, that we consider a date the week before, still in April, but like the first which is a Wednesday, the second, Thursday. No one likes to meet on Friday unless you guys want to, I will, but I don't know anyone who's ever wanted to meet on a Friday.
First or second would be great for me personally.
Either one of those would be fine with me.
Would you like us to set up some sort of like poll to send to everyone, email or?
Good question. I feel comfortable just,
Doing it?
well, I guess Christina would want to know if she's available. Dana and Dave, to be candid, I don't think they'd have any problem with me saying this, like, they're kind of wild cards, they travel a lot.
Exactly. They told us they wouldn't, yeah. Terry,
Yeah.
what about you? Could you do the first or second?
Yeah. Is it, wait a minute, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Do you have a preference?
No, it looks like there was we had one scheduled on the first and it was canceled, according to my calendar.
Oh,
really.
well, the first seems fine with. What do you guys
That
think?
may be because we used to do them on the first Wednesday of the month, Terry, a long
Oh.
time ago.
I see.
I still have stuff on my calendar from like years ago. I don't understand how it's still there. Anyway, sorry.
Why don't we
Yeah.
just say the first, if, we could email or text Christine and make sure that works for her.
And then if not, maybe the second.
Maybe the second.
Okay, that sounds good.
April Fool's Day meeting?
We gotta have fun with that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, this left my mind, on the agenda. One thing I wanted to ask is, are we planning to do update to town council in April? Cause it's a quarterly, if we're sticking with quarterly updates.
The last one we did was,
January?
January. Oh my gosh, you're right. Wow, it's already here. April.
So the only thing I can think of that we really would need, there's much to talk about, is the zero waste policy. I
Yeah,
don't know,
Well, Eileen might go before him again, depending on how it goes at the next meeting, so.
why don't we do this? Maybe rather than doing a formal presentation, since they're gonna possibly be discussing those things anyway, why don't we just commit that, one or more of us are there to answer questions or on behalf of the
I
SAB
think that's a great idea, or
in lieu of a quarterly.
in lieu of a quarterly update, yeah, I mean, there's no hard and fast rule that you all have to be there quarterly. I mean, you could always push it till May or something if
Yeah.
you wanted to, but I think that's a good idea, Dave, if someone was willing to be there to help give some feedback, background as to why the SAB made the recommendation on something,
Okay. Why don't we do that, if we decide in May that we have enough that we need to do a quarterly update. I mean, one of the reasons for the quarterly update is just to make sure that town council knows we're here and that we're doing stuff and we're working and stuff, and just to be in front of them. But we don't need to be draconian about it.
Right.
Well,
Sure.
maybe by May we'll have the results of the grant that we could present to.
Yeah, that would be good. Then we'd maybe have some updates of how we're going to apply some of that to the net 2030 and stuff like that.
Okay,
I guess another thing, and maybe May would be better time for this anyway, maybe by then we'll have I'll have an updated road plan, and we can maybe go through that in a little bit more detail
yeah.
with the
That
town.
makes sense.
But we probably don't want to try to add that to April, because
April might already be a lot, but
okay, so
potentially May or something like that, but
let's do that. Let's plan to be there. I'll plan to be there in May and in April, and then leave open the possibility we do a quarterly update in May where we mostly talk about 2030 and a roadmap.
Okay. Oh.
All right. Approval of the minutes from last meeting. Thank you.
Yes, I move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Okay, Terry, you want a second? Terry's gone, so I'll second.
Terry gone, no, he's there.
Oh.
Sorry, second.
There.
Yep.
No.
I was
All
on
right,
mute.
Terry. Okay. And so in the next couple of days, I'll get back to you with so let's go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
What, do you wanna vote on that? Like,
Oh,
everyone
do we need to vote on that?
What do we do? You vote to.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
pretty goosey here. So then let's adjourn the meeting at whatever time it is.
Thanks,
Six
Terry.
17. Okay, I'll
Sorry.
be in
Talk to
touch with you.
soon, Terry.
I'll be in touch with you tomorrow, Preston.
Sounds good. Don't be
Okay.
screening my calls.
You're getting smarter by the day. See ya.
Yeah.
Bye, Carrie.